Hi there everyone. So I'm here to record the second my ayahuasca vlogs before the event, before the travel. As you can see, the weather is as I left it before, always sunny in Oxford. Uh, I wish. There's people just enjoying themselves here, chilling out, feeling at one with nature, and I thought it would be nice to come outside. But also I'm a little uncomfortable, I suppose, with what I'm going to talk about now, a bit more than last time. So let's just go for it. This is me talking to you on the 30th of June 2015, which means that it's about 2 years since I first tried to kill myself. And it wasn't the last time. There was another occasion not long after that. And that was some of the darkest times, I mean, obviously some of the darkest times of my life. And I don't feel exactly like I've been on a journey from that point. I think it took longer for me to be able to really deal with those emotions, and a lot had to do with the end of the relationship I mentioned last time, and being able to realize I was at ground zero and needed to build myself up. But I obviously was unsuccessful, and believe it or not, for those of you who don't suffer with depression, like the narrative that goes through your head if you've tried to kill yourself and failed is, oh, you can't even do that properly, what the hell is wrong with you? Which is not very helpful. I've got to say that doing some daily meditation for about a month now, which began with a challenge from the London Real Academy, has been very helpful at keeping some of those more negative thoughts at bay. But that degree of self-loathing, of sort of despair various times, is one of the things that's driving me to want to go and speak to Mother Ayahuasca. And I find myself actually more and more talking about it as Mother Ayahuasca. I think that could be a manifestation of wanting it to be some sort of conscious spirit that's actually going to try and help and heal, and that's what people talk about. But there is a very cynical part of me that says, well, that's just not the case. So, well, I hope that the cynical part is proved wrong. I've been and spoken to my GP to prepare to go to Peru, and after explaining to him what ayahuasca is, which allowed me to try and demonstrate some of the knowledge I've been acquiring through listening to other people's stories, their accounts, but also doing a bunch of reading about it, I was quite surprised that he was sort of fine with that. He said, you know, you just need to try and make sure you're going to a reputable place and be careful in general. I'm glad that I didn't end up having to get into some sort of ideological debate with him, which I thought might have happened, but that wasn't the case. I do, on the other hand, because I'm going to Peru, have to get a ton of vaccinations, or at least the place that I'm going to suggests, well, there's no yellow fever in this area and so on, but I would be probably a bit disappointed if I went and discovered a true love of life and how to live a brand new life and then died in the jungle of yellow fever. So I think I'll get that inoculation. I also have to get update on the tetanus. You need to get Hep A, B, if there was one for C, you get that as well. Typhoid, possibly dengue fever. So it's going to be really exciting going to the Amazon. Of course, there's malaria as well. Shouldn't forget malaria at all. Not too many cases that have been reported over the past year, but there have been some in Peru. So yeah, if you never see me again after I've been out there, it might not have been ayahuasca. So you shouldn't necessarily blame ayahuasca for my disappearance. So I guess that's been the next practical step that I'm needing to take. But having posted the first vlog and having spoken to some people about it, and I should say first thank you for everybody who took the time to watch it, and I hope you found something interesting in there. I feel quite unsure of what it is other people might get from me sharing this, but I do feel that it's a good thing to do, because I don't expect anything from it. I'm not trying to get something from it. I just want to put it out there, and if people get something back, then that's fantastic. Yeah, so thank you for watching that. Some of the feedback, some of the questions that I've got related to that are basically people saying I'm really brave. So thank you. I mean, that's a nice thing for anybody to hear. But I've got to say that that sort of sits strangely with me, because I don't feel brave. And that's not because I don't think that this is a big deal and a scary thing to do, though I'm not scared yet. That may be for the next vlog. I don't feel it's that scary, and so I don't feel brave, because it's something that I just feel that I have to do. It's not really negotiable at this point, and it wasn't just not negotiable at the point where I put the money down and said, okay, I'm definitely going. It's not negotiable because more and more I've come to feel like I need to do this, and because it's necessary. Bravery doesn't come into it, it's just what needs to be done. On the other hand, I think there's a more sort of self-destructive aspect of that, which is, I think a lot of people are scared of the prospect of going and trying ayahuasca because they think, but I might die. I mean, not that ayahuasca kills people, there's possibilities of clashes of medication if they're not being honest about what they're taking and so on, but there's still this sense of, oh, going to the Amazon and drinking a shamanic potion, anything could happen. Well, for better or for worse, I don't care if I die. I know at some level it's a heavy thing to say. I don't find it that way. I don't care if I don't come back, which is probably a sign that I should go, to be honest, because that's not a very healthy approach. I don't know, is it healthy, is it not? Because just being willing to go and experience things and not be obsessed and worried about potential consequences all the time, I mean, that's freedom of a sort, but I think I'd rather have freedom with a bigger smile on my face. So I hope that I come back with a greater appreciation and desire to move forward in my life, because right now I'm at a point where, aside from the emotional situation that I've been describing, I don't really know if I'm doing what I want to do. I'm sure a lot of people feel that way, and I'm sort of at this about to turn 30, having that sense of, oh God, I'm actually an adult now, and I need to be making clearer forays in directions that are going to lead me somewhere. And I'm not entirely sure if the ones that I'm making are the ones that are going to make me happy. Certainly, it's not like I lack direction. I can continue following this academic path that I'm on, but maybe it's not what I want to do. But I don't know. So here's a real danger that I think is creeping up on me, is that I think I'm beginning to put too much weight on ayahuasca and what it can give me. And I sort of expected this would happen, is that I'm beginning to think, it's okay, things will be clear after I go to the Amazon. And I think that's too much expectation. I know at an intellectual level that I'm going to get what ayahuasca gives me, and it might not be what I expect, even, subject-wise at all. But emotionally, I've just got that sense of hope that, I really hope that I come out of this with a greater sense of who I am, why I feel the way I do, and hopefully find ways to feel differently, but also a sense of, well, what's actually important to me. I want that to be uncovered by the medicine. I want that to be uncovered by the process of examining all of these structures that I and everybody ends up in, these structures of thought where you feel confined within the limit of your horizons. And it didn't used to be that way when you were a child and you didn't have a sense of what those rules were and what those horizons were. You thought you could be an astronaut, you thought you could be a doctor, you thought you could be a fireman, you thought you could be all of these different things. And at a certain point, you either narrow it down or just the other choices go away and you find yourself in one situation or another. And that can be good, but at the same time, it's still more restricting than the point where you thought there were limitless opportunities. So that will be interesting, but like I'm saying, I think there's a danger that I'm hoping for too much. I'm not sure what to do about that, so any advice will be welcome. I think I just have to make sure that I don't go in and expect, everything is going to make sense at the end of it. And again, intellectually I don't expect that, but emotionally I feel myself really craving that would be the case. Yeah, I've been doing a bit of reading about other people's experiences of ayahuasca. I've been reading Graham Hancock's book Supernatural and his accounts, um, and there's some fascinating stuff there that I recommend people have a look at. He's quite a controversial man, but you know, he's only in this case he's only writing about things that he's actually experienced, and it's pretty enlightening. He's jumping on board with Terence McKenna, thinking that it was access and use of psychedelics which actually brought humans, or anatomically modern humans, to the point where they became symbolic. We were aware of ourselves and could depict things in a way that wasn't simply literal, which, you know, is pretty interesting. But the more I read, the more I think, oh, because I'm reading that you saw lots of snakes, am I now going to see lots of snakes? And his perspective is that you're tuning into some kind of much more fundamental, natural aspect of the world of ayahuasca and where it takes you, and that you see snakes because that's this sort of parallel reality, perhaps, that you're accessing. I think you see snakes because you're in the jungle and because you've probably heard other people talk about snakes. But we'll see. It's probably an unanswerable question. So we'll see about that. I think that's probably all that I have to share at this point. The next time that I talk, I'm most likely going to be in Germany, where I'm doing an intensive German language course. So I'll probably look somewhat exhausted, and I don't really think I'll be speaking German by that point. But the scenery will be a bit different. In the meantime, if you have any questions, any thoughts, any feedback in general, please just send it my way. I'll definitely appreciate that. Oh, there was actually something else I wanted to mention. I was thinking I'd go into this in depth, but I won't. I just want to sketch out. When I first put up the first vlog, and a friend of mine encouraged me after watching it to just make it public, because at first it was an unlisted video, just for people I gave the link to, and people on the London Real Academy. And he said, do it. So I did, and then I barely slept that night, just really freaking out, expecting a ton of hate-filled comments to turn up, and I put way too much emphasis on what other people think. This is sort of central to my issues with depression, is that just the weight of other people's views weigh very heavily on me. And I thought, I don't want to be a crusader or some kind of person who has to stand either advocating or defending the use of ayahuasca or other psychedelics. Gradually I managed to calm down. I wrote down some, you know, imaginary counter-arguments to the imaginary interlocutors, and that reduced some of the tension. But there is that sense, and I'm sure many people feel it, that you go to do something very personal for your own personal development, and yet it can become something which could be dragged into another arena, i.e. you're going for some kind of job in a responsible position of some kind, and somehow somebody Googles you and they find you talking about using psychedelics. They're like, oh, no way are we having this guy. And perhaps times are changing in general with attitudes to psychedelics, but for many people they're not. So there is a risk, and that's a really scary thing, and I think I've heard other people talk about that too. But hell, I'm just gonna go with this. I'm not advocating anybody do anything. I'm just trying to describe what I feel that I need to do for myself, and to share that experience. But that was an intense moment, an intense feeling of closing doors on myself, that I wouldn't be able to go down certain routes anymore. I don't know if that's true, but I don't think that what I'm doing is wrong in any way, and talking about it similarly isn't wrong. I did think one last ridiculous thought as I hurriedly thought, oh God, I put it publicly, but can I try and dissociate myself from it? Let me try and remove my name in some way from it. And I thought, you fucking idiot, it's a video with you talking to a camera in it. How exactly are you going to anonymize that? Anyway, on that, that foolish thought, I hope that when I look back at this video in another 2 years' time, I'll be in a very different place emotionally, and it will seem an alien thing to me that it was 2 years ago that I was trying to jump out of a window. So, thank you for watching, and I'll speak to you in another 4 weeks or so.